Hey everyone, today I'm going to be going over some DIY fish taxidermy. I've actually been doing this a little bit now, and I don't know if any longer time subscribers of my little ridiculous weird channel know that I've been making fishing lures and carving wooden fish and stuff, and I'm still very active in those, except I've kind of always wanted to be a taxidermist. I feel like some people think it's gross and disgusting, like my mom and my friends and everyone else, but I think it's pretty freaking cool. You can take something that was living, harvest the meat from it, and then put on the wall. Like, it's just a cool process, and I feel like that's something I'd be really good at. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good at it. I'm gonna show y'all in a sec too. But I'm gonna go over overview in this video, and then maybe tomorrow I'm gonna start on. I'm definitely gonna have a painting video on this bluegill, more finish up process. I won't have like if y'all watched my bass series, like where step by step, y'all kind of saw like the videos where I made the largemouth bass, the wood carving. Same thing with this, except we're just gonna be stuff in a bluegill. The next one will either be a bluegill or bass. I don't know yet. This is my second bluegill, and I'll probably show my first bluegill in some other videos too. But this one's in the drying stage right now, and so let's get kind of into the video on how things work. So like I said, taxidermy is a process of taking an animal or something like that, put it on the wall, stuffing it, mounting it, and then basically preserving it and having it forever. The cool thing is about fish and animals, you can kind of put them in motion, make that something super realistic come out of it. I do a lot of wood carvings, a lot of wood bass carvings, and I'm pretty good at it. The one I'm doing now, kind of doing it through school right now, it's taking a little bit longer, but it's a largemouth bass, and it's probably about, it's 23 inch long, so 23 inch largemouth bass. I'll probably video that just showing you know, the overview of it when I'm done with it. A couple months now, working on it. But there's only so much realism you can capture with the wood carving. When you're mounting a fish, you have infinite amount of realism because it's the real thing, you know? That's just cool. That's just cool in my opinion. You can really kind of get a much more realistic look with things like that. There are other ways you can make realistic mounts without having to taxidermy a fish, like you can do replicas. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. So, taxidermy, fish. This video is gonna be specifically about fish. I'm gonna try and get in birds, waterfowl, and then maybe along the line deer. I don't know, that's a lot. Fish are kind of more of a DIY hobby. So, first topic of the video, there are two different types of taxidermy fish you can do. You can do a replica mount or you can do a skin mount. A replica mount is basically where they take your fish. You can either make a mold of it, so basically you can kind of get the fish back but it's still dead, or you can basically, when you catch a fish on the water, you can take measurements of it, length, girth, width, mouth opening, eyes, and that kind of thing, your fins. Then you take lots of pictures and you can send it to a taxidermist, and they will make you a fake fish, paint it just like yours. And for a lot of people, that does the job. For me, I don't really care for it because then again, it's not the real fish. Your memory's still there. You can still have kind of like the connection, but it's not the real fish you caught out of the water, even though it may look just like it. With the skin mount fish, you can take the fish you caught out of the water and physically transform it into something on the wall. And that's what a skin mount is. So those are the two different kinds you can get. Replicas are becoming more and more popular just because of, you know, bass conservation these days. You catch like a 10-pound plus bass, you're gonna want to put it back in the water. Some people will take it out and they're considered bad people. I don't think it matters, and in fact, I'd rather have a 10-pound skin mount than a 10-pound replica. So that's just up to you. But those are the two different kinds of mounts you can do. Now, let's go on to the steps of a skin mount because I'm not into replicas yet. I've just been doing skin mounts. And so this is the skin mount I'm doing right now. This is a bluegill. I caught him at a pond nearby and caught him on a nightcrawler. You can actually see, if the glare is not too bad, like right there, there's a hole right there. That's where the hook went through. You know, it's just kind of little details like that you can't achieve with the replica. Like that's where the hook came through, and that's where the blood came out of when I hooked him in the mouth. So That's cool. Basically, this is what we got. Bluegill, he's about 9 inches long, I would assume. A little bit of a big, beefier bluegill. There's the belly on him. When I caught him, he was pretty thick, top profile. There's the back of it. Um, Here's the front. Now, this fish is in the process of drying. Drying is basically where you stuff your fish with your foam, clay, it's all got sewed up, pinned up, ready to go. You card your fins, and then you let it to dry. Then when it dries, your fish is ready to paint. And then when you paint, after you paint, you can clear coat it. Now, the two hardest steps, I would say, in a fish taxidermy is the skinning part and the painting part. Mounting a fish and getting your pins right and stitching, and that all comes with experience. There's nothing really too tricky about it. You can really get it pretty quickly. Your painting, now I've been painting lures and bass for a long time. Y'all know that. Like, I got fancy airbrush and stuff. Like, I've been painting fish, and that's nothing new to me. And a lot of people actually struggle with that coming into it, but that's second nature for me. I love it. I'm actually pretty good at it, so that's not a problem for me. And skinning a fish, it's a little bit trickier, especially smaller bluegill. They have much thinner skin. You have to be careful with the head and details and bone structures and your gills and stuff. Like right here, you can see I kind of poked through the side where I was skinning it with my knife and stuff. And I'll turn the camera on and show you the different kind of tools I use for that in a sec. But basically, if you can nail painting your fish and you can nail skinning your fish, you're gonna be perfectly fine as a fish taxidermist. It ain't too hard. Once you learn how to do those two big things. Okay, so the tools you're gonna need to start out with a fish taxidermy, of course. I'm basically go over the steps and processes you need. That's gonna be about it for this episode. So, as you can see, we're about halfway done with the fish. To get to this step, I'm about to explain. First of all, you need to go catch a fish. Alright, you need to go catch a fish out in the wild. You need to get something big, something hardy, bass, bluegill, trout. I wouldn't do a catfish. That's a mess. Don't mount a catfish. Don't. I've tried it before, it doesn't work. Go catch a fish, particularly a giant bluegill. That's a good place to start. Or a decent size 1-2 pound bass. That's a good place to start. Alright, then what you're going to need is you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need a knife. You can use, I prefer short bladed knives, serrated and just regular skinny knives. You're going to need this skinny knife right here. You can buy this. You can buy all these tools on matuskataxidermy.com. This is a fleshy knife. Basically, when you're going to cut a line down the back of your fish on the back here, you're going to take this and you're going to scrape the inside. Basically, you're just removing the skin from the body, and then you can take one of these meat scrapers and you can basically go along, take out all the meat from your fish. Same thing, smaller ones. Take out the eyeballs to get into the brain there, guts, it all comes out. Fish are actually really clean animals on the inside. The smell's not too bad at all, and it's a relatively clean process. So if you're all like guts and ooey gooey, like, they're not bad at all. It is not bad, and in fact, I'm not one for much blood and gore either, and so it's perfectly fine. There's not a lot of blood, and it smells not too bad. And in fact, I usually do it with my bare hands anyway, just because it's easier to get traction and stuff on meat. But basically, once you completely skin your meat out of your fish, you're going to soak it in E-nature alcohol, 50-50 mixture with water, in a sealed 5-gallon bucket. And that's basically going to let it sit in there for 2-3 days. That's going to kill all the bacteria, all the bad goo ooze that's going to make your fish smell. Basically, and you take that out, you're going to be left with a raw leather skin and your fins. Something like this. Alright? Then, you take your foam block, you carve it out, and then you basically put the foam block around your fish, set your fish up. For bluegill, I just like to use pins. It's kind of ugly, but pins do the best job. Because sewing a tiny little bluegill isn't always the most easiest thing to do. And you can paint and cover all that up in the back anyway. The nice thing about taxidermy too is you're only going to see one side of the product. You don't have to worry about the back side of it. The not so pretty side. So once you have that all dried up, basically then you're going to card your fins using little cards like this and pins, paper clips. You're going to straighten your fins and card them. Then they're going to dry out straight. And then when they dry out in the motion you want them to, you can take them out. You're going to put Mod Podge over your fins. And then you're going to put clear silicone caulking on there. Once this dries, then your fins are basically indestructible. They're not coming apart, and they're not coming undone. They're not going to tear and rip and break. You're going to have indestructible plastic rubber fins, but they're still going to be translucent and still have that texture. It's a very, very cool technique. And then basically once you have all that done, you're kind of this process item. Now, drying process is a very controversial topic when it comes to fish taxidermy, because if you're in a very interesting climate like I am, I live like South Central Texas, lots of rain, lots of humidity, lots of hot, lots of windy, breezy days during the wintertime. So you're kind of stuck with changing temperatures, and your fish isn't going to dry out as fast as you want it to. I have heat lamps in my chicken houses. Sometimes I'll stick this in the heat lamp. It'll be dry in 2 days, and then you're ready to paint. Now the thing is, your outside may be dry, but the inside may be not dry. A process to help speed that up is you put in baking soda. You put in some baking soda powder right there on inside your fish, kind of smear it around, kind of leather it up nice and good, and then that's going to soak up everything, and that's going to really help your fish dry good. The problem is, if you don't let your fish dry long enough before you mount it, then you're going to have shrinkage, and you're going to have cracking, and your scales are going to lift and peel like this right here, and it's going to be very rough, and you're going to have a soggy, wet, disgusting mess. That's the taxidermy people think of. You need something that, when you look at it, doesn't remind you of a dead animal, but reminds you of a piece of artwork, because those two can get very easily mixed up when working with this kind of thing. So just be careful about that. You let it dry for probably about a week. I'll probably let this one 4 or 5 days. I mean, I don't really want to say I'm a big painter guy, but you have to really be patient with it. You can work on fins, but as far as the body goes, do not touch it. Let it dry. Because by the time you're done with fins, you're honestly ready to do your body too. You know, if it's summertime, stick it outside. Maybe like 4 hours of the day, you'll be fine. You'll be ready to go. It dries really quickly. But I do recommend you wait a little bit longer before you paint your fish in the wintertime, just because of how the air works. Painting. Painting is where you bring your fish to life. Now, if you just left your fish like this, put some eyes on it and clear coat, it's still a fish, but like, it's not the fish that you caught, that you took out of the water. You want the work to get that ready, you know? When you paint your fish, you want to have every single little detail. That's why I say take lots of pictures when you bring the fish out of the water and bring it to a taxidermist, because then they can paint it just like you want it. They can use processes of airbrush, you know, hand brushing, powder pigments, acrylics, pastels, glitters. They can do all sorts of stuff to get your fish to look just like the one you caught. That is the most important thing, in my opinion. You can take a really crappy looking mount job and turn it into something beautiful with a good gloss and paint. Last step is gloss. Now, there's a few controversies in gloss. You can do acrylic polyurethanes. You can do liquid crystal. What's it called? It's like liquid crystal, I think. Yeah, it's like the taxidermy fish clear coat. Or you can just go simple with something like this. Doesn't really matter. To get that really good, efficient, like glossy shine, you have to, you know, buy certain things and buy a spray gun. That takes a lot of time and energy and work. If you want something just decent, halfway decent for your wall, go ahead and do, you know, Krylon, or you can do a Mod Podge or a polyurethane. It doesn't really matter to me. Or you can just leave it natural. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Gloss is gloss. That's a personal opinion. I don't really do nothing crazy yet, because I haven't done very commercial at all, actually. So yeah, that's how you do. That's basically the process of doing the fish. I'm gonna have a full video coming up pretty soon on the, you know, me actually doing one, the whole process of it, and I think it'd be pretty cool, the amount of fish on YouTube, considering I'm only 15 years old. That's pretty freaking cool. So, thanks for watching this one, guys. I know you probably didn't watch the whole thing, but if you did, that's kind of crazy, because not a lot of people do. Little fishy here. I'm probably gonna have a YouTube video of me painting this baby. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching this one. Go check out my other videos. I do a lot of cool things. I kind of talk a lot, but if you just skip around, you find something cool. Make sure you like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.